Tokyo, 30 million people. How many people have left? A couple, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000? Does anybody know?
I don't know if there's any statistics being kept, but I'd be willing to say that it could be as many as 5 million. This is not scientific, but it's based on how when I ride the trains or I walk to the shopping street on a Sunday, the size of the crowd. There could be some people staying indoors, but you know, a lot of people I know personally have gone to Osaka or somewhere else.
So maybe 1/6 of the population has gone. Okay, all right.
Maybe, but this is a totally, just based on my subjective observations.
Well, that's
of the
still helpful.
It's
a significant number, apparently, according to your ability to observe. Now, that said, what's the latest in terms of the government giving honest radiation readings to the public? And we have to take a break, so answer that when we come back. And I'm talking about the air and the water. And now, as you know, there's an international backlash against buying any foods being exported from Japan. That's going to be a real problem. We'll see. All right, hold on. Be right back with Ben in just a couple minutes. Okay, back with Ben in Tokyo. Is the government giving common and accurate readings to the best of your ability to discern that to the public about the air and water quality, not to mention the produce, to the people of Tokyo?
I think they are, but I'm not 100% sure. There were some live streaming Geiger counters that were put out by the Minister of Education that were taken offline. You can't see them anymore, and that makes me suspicious.
Same thing here, Ben. We're getting, obviously, some very strange things in terms of EPA results. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, you got to remember, again, the thing is that I want you to realize that we have discovered agents with false Geiger counters spreading disinformation. And I also see a huge disconnect between the corporate Zionist media and how they're reporting the crisis compared with, say, the Chinese government news service or the Japanese state-owned news or private news. In other words, it's like if you read about what's happening in Japanese, it's very, very different than what you read in English. In Japanese, it's a lot less
sensational,
panic-oriented, but they do provide detailed technical information about exactly what's going on. Very serious nitty-gritty people, and everybody suddenly is an expert on nuclear reactors here. I mean, some lady I met in a coffee shop, who's not a PhD or anything, just an average lady running a coffee shop, knew incredible detail about these reactors just from reading her newspapers and watching her TV.
Right.
So I look at the Chinese government Xinhua news site, I look at the Russian RIA Novosti news site, because they're right next to Japan. And if they're detecting radiation, I'm sure they're going to say it, and they're going to make, and I don't see anything. The Chinese detected a teeny tiny amount, but the thing you need to be wary of is that these people, these Zionists, want to create panic and fear. They're deliberately stoking it. And Japan was never a major food export. They rely on imports for 60% of their food. So it's not going to be a big damage to Japan's economy if a few, very obscure places stop buying Chinese vegetables. But again, I want you to remember that people linked to J. Rockefeller and these other people have gotten control of two major zeolite deposits in Japan. And it's in their financial interest to say, all the farmland is contaminated, you can't sell your vegetables unless you put zeolite on it, which we sell for you to you for $100 a pound or whatever, you know what I mean? So I'm very cynical, but me personally, I don't feel bad, okay? And I'm very sensitive. I don't feel anything in the air that makes me, think it's somehow different.
Okay.
And I think I'm sensitive enough, I would detect kind of abnormal radiation. And the Japanese government has been pretty good at evacuating people in the past. So I just need to remind you, these people have a vested financial and a power interest in maintaining fear.
Well, fear is money, of course. I agree. Yes.
But personally, I feel perfectly fine here right now. And I do have a place to go to back in the mountains if I think it's not fine. But so far, I believe it's going to be under control. But again, there are efforts at deliberate sabotage. They're ongoing. They still have, so you can have someone, for example, dump some radioactive iodine into Tokyo water supply, and then one day suddenly the water's radioactive, and then everybody starts buying bottled water. And again, I'd be willing to bet, and I haven't investigated this, so this is pure speculation, but I'd be willing to bet if you investigate it, you find certain American-owned corporations like Walmart may well have stocked up in advance in bottled tea and water. It's worth investigating to see, because there were several signs of insider trading related to this crisis. One was that the South Korean government imported vast amounts of potassium iodide 1 month before this crisis hit. The other was that there was a company called Higashi Nihon House. Their stock price has been shooting up for the past month before the crisis. You got to remember, Japan has a shrinking population. They have 3 million empty houses. And for a housing company to suddenly see its stock price shoot way up 1 month before this crisis, just, it's suspicious. It needs to be investigated. The other thing is that Heizo Takanaka, the former finance minister of Japan, when he was finance minister, the government forced a company called Misawa Home into government receivership. And I know the founder of this company, Mr. Misawa, and I've heard in great detail about this from him, but he says they stole his company and they took $200 million worth of taxpayer money and they put it into the company, and guess who's the chairman of this company now? It's Takanaka's younger brother.
All in the
family. And suddenly, there's a housing boom because all these houses have been destroyed.
Got it.
So, these people need to be investigated. We need to have a thorough criminal investigation. The same thing, you didn't want me to go on about whether or not this earthquake and tsunami was deliberate and was caused by either HAARP or by underwater thermonuclear devices that set off a certain type of electromagnetic pulse, which I heard from a man by the name of Paul Lane, who works for military intelligence, the U.S. military intelligence, and other sources. But I do believe that a neutral international team of experts needs to investigate this to make and get to the bottom of this. Because I also heard from people in the U.S. military, they were deployed to the area offshore from the earthquake before the earthquake started. And, again, this nuclear accident would be a perfect cover-up from radiation in the ocean caused by seabed nuclear detonations. So what I'm saying is that, this is a crime, is a potential crime against humanity, and it needs to be subject to an international tribunal. And I'm very confident that certain people will be found out, and they've got nowhere to hide. I don't care what they say. I don't care what underground bunker they go to. They can't hide on this planet anymore. Their days are coming to an end. Their power is finished. I guarantee it. All that said, these people plan a long time in advance, and they, like I said, we've heard from several sources about the hot water under Mount Fuji's heating, and there's electronic beams being directed at it from sources in the U.S. They're going to do something else in other parts of the world, too. They're hitting Japan is because Japan's the U.S., the number one creditor nation to the U.S., and it's a sort of saying, well, if you're going to bankrupt us, we're going to just trash you.
Yeah,
it's like it's equivalent to one of these guys taking a chainsaw to his house before it gets foreclosed on. This is the kind of attitude they're taking right now, and that means they could have done a lot more nastiness before they're removed.
Right.
And it's up to the American people to really take action. It's up to the people in the Pentagon, people, the patriots, to say enough is enough. And you all know who they are. All it takes is maybe take a couple of hundred old men and just confine them to their houses and cut off their communications. That would do it. That's all it would take.
Will this be the end of American military occupation of Japan?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I mean, maybe the Japanese worked with the U.S. military for a long time, and it may be that they'll hire them again, the good guys, as insurance against China, but not until the leadership changes and the United States itself is free from control of this cabal.
Another important question. It has been suggested that perhaps the Japanese have been running a nuclear weapons program under the guise of their 55 nuclear power plant reactors. Any possible truth to that?
Apparently, Boris Yeltsin, the former president of Russia, wants to let out that the Japanese have 5,000 nuclear weapons and that they only tell very senior heads of state to this fact. They don't tell their own people. Now, the only Boris Yeltsin ever said that. And I got this secondhand, so I hope somebody out there can check and confirm that. But I do know this for a fact, that the Japanese have enough plutonium to make 5,000 nuclear weapons stored away. Mm-hmm. And once you have plutonium, and that's the hard part, is getting the plutonium.
Right.
I've heard that if you go to the top of a ladder, okay, and you drop 10 kilograms of plutonium on top of another 10 kilograms of plutonium, down below, that would be enough to set off an atomic explosion. So, at the very least, they could put together these things in a matter of weeks, and they have the missiles to deliver them. So, certainly, Japan.
So it's possible that they've been making plutonium with these reactors for many years and doing
that's for sure. Yeah. That's well known. I mean, I talked to a lot of Japanese nuclear activists who've been protesting against this plutonium for decades. I've even covered some of the protests. Mm-hmm. And the Greenpeace trying to block the ship full of plutonium coming from France to Japan. I mean, this has all been in the news for a long time.
Got it.
They have plutonium, that's for sure.
Got it. All right. Well, they've got plutonium, they've got weapons. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I want to end on a more optimistic note.
You always do.
I always do, because the thing is, we have people who rely on fear and terror, and they themselves are now terrorized and scared, and they're trying to panic more, create more fear and more terror. But the fact of the matter is that what we're talking about, when you talk about finance, when you talk about the financial system and the economy, it's really about humanity's dreams of the future. What do we want to do next with this planet? Do we want war or do we want peace? Do we want hate or do we want love?
Yeah. You got it.
And if we make the decision in our hearts that we want a better world, we can make it come true.
I hope so, Ben. There are a lot of people who will stand right with that idea and with you and others who are of similar mind, and I'm certainly one of them. If you get that phone recording posted, let me know. I'll be happy to run it and give it maximum exposure. Thanks for the excellent report tonight. I appreciate it, and stay safe.
And just remember, there's a smear campaign against me. Don't take it for real.
Understand.
Okay.
I'm right there. We've been colleagues for a long time.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. All right.
If
Take care of yourself.
I'll answer. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Right. Good night.
Ben Fulford, live from Tokyo. All right. Well, another day, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. Keep your eye on Rense.com, and we'll bring you the latest. And back with you tomorrow night. See you then.